Push-pull is what usually breaks people apart when they're in love, and it's probably the case for you. Perhaps you are back into that push-pull dynamic with your ex. You're trying to get back in touch with them and they give you mixed signal. Every time you get closer, they pull back. I'm going to explain today in this video how to diffuse this dynamic, how you can live happily with a partner with whom you have a push-pull dynamic. I'll explain everything after the jingle.
IGetMyExBack.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.
Love is a dance. And when you understand this idea of tango dance, I have a client who refer that as a tango, and it takes two to tango. Relationship is always a battle between your needs, between your partner's need, expressing your needs, understanding your partner's need, and vice versa. And that's why we have this push-pull dynamic. Other people would refer it as a power struggle. And that's the case for every single relationship. Not only people who break up, but every single relationship. The only thing is that happens after the honeymoon phase. You don't have any push-pull, you don't have a lot of tension or friction during this honeymoon phase, because it's more about like we see the life with pink glasses, right? And the idea of the honeymoon phase is that we are in, or the other name is infatuation stage. Everything is great, everything is amazing, and we, because of that, because of the oxytocin, high intake of dopamine, our judgment is different, and we make different decisions. And these studies analyzing this, which is very different. It's very interesting. The decision making of people in love is different than people who are in long-term relationship. When I say in love, starting a relationship, when we transition from passion to compassion. I'm saying this because if you're watching this video and you've been with your partner for less than 6 months and you already feel a push-pull, that's not a great sign. And if you want to know whether you have a chance of you getting back with your ex, take the quiz. I put together a quiz for you to know if you have any chance of getting back with your ex. I recommend you to have a look. It's totally free, obviously. It's in the description. So the typical case, I'm a therapist helping people mostly around attachment style, is the anxious-avoidant trap. And there's this battle between, as I said before, different needs. They have a need for space if you're anxious, and you need to connect. They have a fear of commitment, and you have a fear of abandonment. They're feeling that you're too needy, and how you perceive their behavior is like they don't care, right? And we have those two opposing forces working together. Some people might see it as a dance, as I said before, some people as a trap. We'll discuss how to break this. And breakup is sometimes the outcome of an unhealthy, unaddressed push-pull. Someone end a relationship, decides to end a relationship when they feel their needs aren't met. And so if it's the case of an avoidant, their needs for freedom, their needs for autonomy aren't met, and they feel they will be better off without that person. So why were you attracted in the first place? If you speak two different languages, if you are from two different planets, it's because on one hand, we tend to replicate dynamics that we experienced in early life. Is the theory, not a theory, but it's imago therapy, around the fact that we always we're always attracted to people that look familiar. So to our family, to our parents, and consciously we are attracted by their qualities, and unconsciously we are attracted by their shortcomings. The other element is the idea of completeness. You complete each other. They calm me. If I'm an anxious person and I'm dating someone avoidant, he or she calms me. And when I'm an avoidant, I'm attracted by people who are passionate, people who are outgoing, people who are in tune with their emotions, because I can't. And so that attracts me, for example, if I take my case. And so we have this self-fulfilling prophecy when an avoidant dates someone who is a bit anxious of, a relationship means being with someone clingy. And the same for an anxious person, having this deep fear of abandonment, they are attracted to someone who would leave them, reinforcing this self-fulfilling prophecy of relationships are hard, I can't trust people I date. So all of the above are well documented. There are tons of books on the subject. I won't go into too much detail. You can read books about imagotherapy. It's very interesting. Self-fulfilling prophecy. It's always about the unconscious mind. All of these points are unconscious. We don't realize that, and that's my job in a way. That's my purpose, is to help you understand those unconscious drivers. So it's important to understand about your partner's boundary. If your partner is avoidant, you need to understand that they need some space. And when they ask you for space, it's not because they don't love you, it's not because they don't care about you, it's because they need it. Most of the time, the problem is that they don't communicate properly. People are usually not great communicators, which is great for me as a therapist because it gives a lot of job to couple therapists. However, I believe that most problems, if they are communicated properly, if you understand your partner's language, could be avoided, and that's my job, is to help you understand those things. So if your partner is anxious, you have to make an effort to be emotionally available. So it goes both ways, okay? And after the breakup, the problem is that because of the space, because of the distance, the anxious person will cross the boundaries of the avoidant. The avoidant use this breakup to meet their needs, the need for space, but what you're doing is you're doing the opposite. You're basically telling them, I can't respect this, I'm not agreeing with this, and they don't understand, and that's why they will fight back. That's why we'll get to that push-pull even stronger. Protest behaviors, that's what people who have an anxious attachment style, as it's called in attachment theory, you would display this type of protest behavior. So excessive contact attempt, like you're trying to call them and they block you sometimes. People will end up being blocked because they don't understand that their partner wants a bit of space. Social media stalking, emotional manipulation, so jealousy or threatening them, showing up uninvited to places, expressing anger and frustration. These behaviors are driven by this deep hurt that you might feel after the breakup. This feeling that this decision is unfair, this feeling that I need to answer, I need to confront, I need to know. By doing that, and it makes sense when you read them on the slide, but I know most people, they can't help it because it's unconscious. Remind yourself, maybe pause this video, take some notes on this one, make sure you stick it on your fridge somewhere. These are dreadful mistakes. These are the things that will kill any chance of you getting back with your ex. What you have to do is to do the opposite. So it's very simple. As soon as you start thinking that, realizing that you're doing something as usual, challenge this. It's very much, it's called counter-instinctual from Sonny Shulkins, because our natural tendencies are coming from our childhood wounds. And that's why when we are under stress, that's why we're in conflict with our partner, we default to being avoidant, we default to being anxious. I'm using the example of a fight. When you fight with someone, this is where you trigger an automatic process of like, there's a danger. And when there's a danger, when there's tension, we default to our unconscious sort of drive. And avoidance, when there's a fight, they avoid, they leave, they slam the door, they say, I don't want to talk about that, leave me alone. Anxious person will do the opposite. I need to talk to you, I need to vent, I need to express my feelings. Okay? So it's very important to understand that when you're about to act, when you're about to go on automatic mode, remember, you need to be more avoidant. You need to tune down, you need to slow down the process. It's essential, that's what will bring your ex back if you are trying to get with an avoidant. If you reach out, be playful, lighthearted, it takes a bit of time. Don't bring back this anxious person right away. Avoid being too emotional, avoid talking about the breakup. If you're dating an avoidant and want to get back with an avoidant, they don't have a freaking clue about how to deal with your emotions. They'll be clumsy, you're crying, they don't even know how to deal with it because they don't understand. They haven't had this experience as a child, for example, of someone hugging them because they're sad. Okay? Avoid lengthy conversation. The reason I'm saying this is because you might end up becoming too emotional. The longer you stay with your partner, having an interaction with your ex, the more chances you will default to that automatic process. And also you don't want your partner to get bored in a way. If you have like a 3 hours date, then you have nothing left to discuss. Respect your ex, but don't lose yourself. When you have an anxious attachment style, it's very important to work at building a form of resilience, building confidence, and showcasing to your ex that you can be independent. Another very important tip, if you're dealing with an avoidant, is let them feel that they're in control. There's usually a clash between anxious people and avoidant people. Anxious people tend to feel safer if they control things, if they can control their partner, right? The problem is when you are in a relationship, it creates a lot of tension, but as exes, it's even worse. And so if your ex perceives that you're trying to get them to do something, you're trying to manipulate them in a way, they will run away, and it's very important. So quick work on control. Anxious need control because you need to be reassured. So the idea is really try to let go, and I know it's difficult for you if you have an anxious attachment style. It's very difficult to let go because letting go means you have this belief of letting go is I'm giving up. I'm a loser. I want to fight. If it's painful, then it's valuable, right? And so the idea of really take a step back and assess what's in it for you. The recovery process when you have an anxious attachment style, it's about letting go. It's most of the work. It's very easy for me to say, speaking in front of my camera. I know it's a hard work. I know it's sometimes a long process. But once you master this skill of letting go, trust me, things will be way easier. Things you need to let go today. You need to stop idealizing the past of the relationship. This relationship is dead. You have to grieve it. Your ex doesn't want this relationship, so stop trying to revive this relationship. It's dead. The fact that you can save your ex is something that I hear very often. They're avoidant. They have insecurities. Fair enough. That's not your job to save them. You won't be the person who saved them. Your love might open their eyes, and they might change as a result of your relationship, but that's not your job to change them. Stop thinking that you need someone to complete you. So that's very much unconscious, but the idea is that maybe deep inside, you develop the idea that you are not complete, that you need someone to feel whole. That's very classic of anxious people. That's very classic of people who were raised, like many of our generation, who were raised with Disney movies where you're hoping for the Prince Charming. You're hoping like, I need this relationship. I'm a hopeless romantic. But what does it mean if you don't have that person? Does it mean you're useless? You have no life, you can't live? That's not true. The idea of a relationship, the way I see it, of course it's fulfilling to have a relationship, but that's the cherry on the cake. That's the bonus that you need to pursue in order to have a fulfilling life. And of course, connections, social interactions are the best way to be happier, to live longer, and having a relationship to some extent, yes, but it's not the alpha and the omega. So all the stories you're telling yourself about relationship, maybe it's because of Cinderella, maybe it's because of White Snow, pick your movie, but because of the way you perceive relationship, the way you perceive human interactions because of your childhood, it's very important to uncover those things. The journey might feel bumpy, the road might feel bumpy, but trust me, it's so rewarding once you really nail this idea of letting go, of also taking that step to understand your securities, to address and sort of note your emotion and not let those emotions drive you. If you find this video helpful, don't hesitate to like. You can also subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer.